Welcome to Poetry Podcast. I'm Patricia Dragan, and this is a show about active citizenship from around the world. Our show is powered by the ALAPS project and supported by the European Commission. On our first episode, we are traveling all the way to Spain in Córdoba to talk to the creator of the international ALAPS project, as well as two young ladies who took part in the project implemented in Spain. First, we're going to chat with Ana Rojas from Fundación Schul in Córdoba, Spain, who's going to tell us all about the story of the project and how it was implemented in Spain. Ana is the project manager of the ALAPS project who made it all happen. Hi Ana, it's good to have you here.
Hi to everyone.
So let's start off by telling us a little bit about who you are and what is Fundación Schul doing.
Well, I am currently coordinating European programs and other social initiatives at Schul Foundation, yes. And the Schul Foundation is a non-profit organization that aims to impact on community through social communication models and communication for development in order to benefit social and environmental sustainability. In order to do so, we implement activities as counseling and mentoring, training and research, communication and awareness raising initiatives, or technologies initiatives.
How did you come up with the idea of creating the ALAPS project? What inspired you to do it?
We've been involved in promoting processes and living labs experiences for the last years. More concretely, we have been dynamizing the Córdoba Social Lab since 2014, which aims to tackle societal challenges through the collective intelligence of social actors in Córdoba. Because of the good experience lived in this process, we came up with the idea to scale up the model to other environments where we wanted to put the focus on young people, especially those with lower opportunities and citizen participation.
Could you give us a general overview of the project, the different implementation phases, their activities, the general objectives, the outputs, just to give our listener a better understanding of what we're talking about?
Yes, of course. Very short, the process is divided in two main phases: trainings and pilot projects implementation. During the training phase, participants had the opportunity to go in a journey from inside to outside, starting from knowing themselves a little bit better and going through their community situation and needs in order to co-construct altogether innovative ideas to tackle global challenges at local level. On a second step, we wanted participants to propose their projects to social organizations or groups in their communities in order to contribute to their daily work. The idea was to activate and engage a group of young people in a deep way with the community and the real needs there. We believe that for a real engagement, people have to experience it, not only to speak or learn about it. In order to help this process, we built a methodology and toolkits with all partners, and we hope it could be useful for other young people and groups in Europe in the future.
Great, so now that we have the big picture of what the project is all about, let's zoom in on the training process in Córdoba. I know there were quite a lot of young people that participated in the training program, and they came up with some really good project ideas. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, we started with around 25 people here in Córdoba and ended the process, meaning the two phases, with 10, 11 people. Of course, the coronavirus outbreak affects the process, but the experience was satisfactory for almost everyone, as they told us. I think that they really liked the self-development dynamics and tools, and being part of a peers group with a common purpose and commitment with the community. In the end, we had 6 different projects designed, 2 of them that were implemented. Sustainable cities and communities and responsible consumption were one of the main topics that interested our young people. Also, climate action or education were very important for them. In the end, we couldn't implement all the projects because of the COVID outbreak, as I said, but we have now a very good material in order to implement future actions. I think that for them, the most important thing is that they realized that they could really make a change in their communities, that they have opportunities and they want to use them.
Looking back on the last year of the project, what would be your biggest takeaway?
Now, looking back, I think that as I just mentioned, that I think that for them, the most important thing is that they realized that they could really make that change in the communities and they want to use the opportunities that they have in order to do so. For me, it is very important for each one of them because each one of them matters.
Great, thank you so much. Before you go, could you tell our listeners where they could go and find out more information about the project and your organization?
You can consult our website at www.ilabs.eu with all the information and materials from the project. There, we will also post information about final conference on 15th December if you want to join us. Thank you to you.
Great, thanks Ana. So, if you're interested in finding out more, go to the ilabs.eu website. Next, we are meeting with Maria from Spain, who took part in the iLabs project coordinated by Fundación Schul. Hi Maria, thank you for joining us today.
Hello everyone, thanks for having me.
Could you start off by telling us who you are and what motivated you to join the iLabs training program?
Well, I was looking for some sort of project where I could volunteer in some sort of way or learn how to, I wanted to get involved with my community. So when I found out about iLabs through an internet ad, I thought the project looked great, but I was a bit skeptical at first. But still I decided to see what it was about and go to a meeting where it would be introduced to those interested in it back in September 2019. And the whole project felt really fresh, new and exciting, and that's why I joined.
Throughout the entire iLabs experience, you had the opportunity to get to know yourself better, to understand the different needs and issues that your local community is having, and to develop a pilot project to answer those needs. Could you share with us how your overall experience was and what your project was about?
Well, my experience with the iLabs project has been wonderful. I feel that it's made me a better person, actually, and I'm very thankful for that. It's provided me with information about things I didn't know before. Before iLabs, I didn't even know what the Sustainable Development Goals were. I didn't even know how many problems my city faces. So I think that it's made me a better citizen. And actually that's connected with one of the things my group and I wanted to work on with our project. We were planning a weekend event together with our neighbors association where we would have food and drinks and music, fun stuff. But we would also have stands for different associations to introduce themselves and explain what they do to people face to face. We would have also made something to introduce people to the Sustainable Development Goals and more information that we find very important for anyone to know. So yeah, I think that's something crucial to give back to the community. Education on important things, information. And that's one of the goals we were trying to reach with our project that sadly couldn't take place, but still we had fun planning it the time we we could do it. And well, it was also intended to make people feel that they belong to their neighbor, that they belong to a community, so that that feeling of individualism wouldn't be so strong, because we feel that when you know you have people you can rely on, even if they are not your family or your best friends, you live better.
That was so beautifully said, that it's important to care about your community and know that you can rely on each other. Thank you for sharing that. Looking back on the last year of the project, what would be your biggest takeaway?
Definitely the people I've met and the knowledge I've gained. Those two things have helped me make me the woman I am right now.
Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your experience with our listeners.
Thank you so much again. It has been a pleasure.
You've all heard from Maria how the people we meet in our everyday life have the power to change us and make us better and stronger. Now we are moving on to our next guest, Remedios, who worked on the same project as Maria, Verbena 2030. Remedios is actually living in Italy, in Trento, where she is doing her European Solidarity Corps project with our NGO Associazione Inco. Hi Reme, welcome on our show.
Hi, thanks for inviting me.
We've known each other thanks to the iLabs project, but I always wanted you to ask, how did you join the iLabs training program in Córdoba?
My name is Reme. I'm a journalist from Córdoba. I'm 26 years old, and I really ended up taking part in iLabs by accident. My workmate saw an advertisement for the project, and she thought that I would like it, and at first I was quite scared, but since she thought about me, I couldn't say no, so I went to the first meeting and I actually loved it.
Thank you, friend of Reme, for bringing her to us. Now, could you share with us how your overall experience was and what your project was about? We've heard already a bit from Maria, but I'm curious to hear your side of the story.
Well, for me, iLabs at first was a challenge to meet new people. I was feeling really isolated in my city. My friends were all out of the city, studying or working, so I really needed to get out of my comfort zone and meet new people. And I thought this was a great opportunity, and it actually was. But then it also told me a lot about the sense of community and how spaces are used. And I developed a high interest in the way we use spaces and how we don't really have that many opportunities to live in the city without spending money. Everything is quite focused on consumption, and I really learned about that a lot. And then when we had to decide about our projects and thinking of those two things, we wanted to bring back tradition to the city. So we created the project Verbena 2030, which is kind of a popular party that used to happen in neighborhoods, and they would make all the neighbors meet each other and share food and experiences and sing and dance. And we thought it was a really good way to make people come back to the streets of their city and get to know who lives around them and their own traditions. But sadly it couldn't happen because of COVID. But I thought the project was a great idea, and I hope we get to make it happen sometime in the future, like in the next couple of years, maybe, hopefully.
Many things changed this year, and I really do hope that you get to implement your project in the future and bring back the tradition to the city. Looking back on this last year, the way it was, what would be your biggest takeaway?
Well, if I had to say what I take from this experience, I would say that probably I grew a lot as a person. I changed my life completely. I'm living in Italy now, in Trento, doing a volunteering project with the European Solidarity Corps, and this whole thing happened because I started the project with iLabs, and it really inspired me to continue doing volunteering and moving around and never stopping and learning about other cultures and other communities. So for me, it really was a changing point in my life. It gave me a lot of freedom to see things in perspective and be braver, I guess, and grow. I grew up a lot, and I hope I continue growing thanks to not only iLabs but all the volunteering experiences that I'm getting.
We're very happy to have you here in Trento, and we are looking forward to all the beautiful adventures we're going to have together. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your experience with our listeners.
Goodbye, and thanks again for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Now that we've heard from our guests from Spain, who shared with us the story of the project and their experiences, let's move on to the second part of our show. After the break, we will meet with Adriano, Elisa, Alberto, and Gloria, who are part of Trento Poetry Slam, our partner who transformed the stories from Spain into beautiful poems and monologues. See you after the break. Welcome back. Our first guest from Trento Poetry Slam is Adriano, who will share with us a little bit about the story of Trento Poetry Slam, who they are and what are some of their activities and projects, as well as their interpretation of the experiences of the young people from Spain. Hi Adriano, welcome on our show. We're very happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Patricia, and thank you for this invitation, and hello to everybody.
Let's start off by telling us who you are and how you discovered your passion for poetry.
Well, I have started writing some kind of poems when I was 14 years old, and I was suffering as a dog for love, basically. And then I continued when I grew older and I began to read poets and poems mainly from Italy. And then I started to take part to Poetry Slam when I was about 31 here in Trento, and after I became part of the group.
Could you tell us more about Trento Poetry Slam? How it was created? What is it that you do?
Trento Poetry Slam was created as an informal group, I think 5 years ago. Two guys from Palermo that were in Trento as students and workers created the group, and they started to organize the Poetry Slam in Trento. 1 year after, the two guys left Trento, and they asked me and another girl to continue the tradition, and we continued for 2 years in organizing the Poetry Slam in Trento, and then other people came, other people left, and then after 5 years we have formed this association, which is since 1 year active in writing, in organizing projects and writing poems.
So, what are you going to be reading to us today?
I will read a poem which is based on the project Entre, Iguales from Spain.
And where did your inspiration come from? How did you come up with this interpretation?
My inspiration came from the very beginning, from the title, because I strongly believe in equality and equity, since I have a sociological background and my passion is for politics, and I am also interested in everything that pertains to politics and community study. And I wanted to write something that could underline my passion for equality, and especially in a moment in which we try to escape from the relation with other people, and we see every person as a potential enemy, a sort of danger for us.
Entre, Iguales was a very beautiful project that you can read more about on the ilabs.eu webpage. The project was designed by Angie, Susana and Olmo from Spain. The mic is all yours.
Per rispettare la distanza devo rispettare l'altro. Da questa stanza rispetto regole e indicazioni, osservo il mondo in mondo costruire muri che erano anche prima, che erano alla base di ogni paura. Una terra isolata per sentirsi sicura. Io, invece, ho cura di quello che può essere, che può non essere. Cercavo solo di superare un malessere per relazioni che non posso tessere. Se vivere vuol dire soltanto esserci in uno spazio che non possiamo prendere, in un presente che dobbiamo rendere tale da non doverci arrendere. Il primo dei problemi irrisolvibili è stare in pace con i propri simili, curare tutti i lividi dentro ad ogni sguardo, soprattutto i più umili che vivono ogni giorno come fossero tumuli di polvere. Le vere parole che contano oggi sono quelle che da massa ci fanno diventare uno. Per questo diciamo, urliamo, tra uguali ci educhiamo.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today and for being part of our project.
Thank you for the invitation and hope to see you again.
Our next guest from Trento Poetry Slam is Elisa, who will join us today with a beautiful piece on the Verbena 2030 project created by Maria and Remedios, and also Emilio and Mirko, who couldn't join us today. Ciao Elisa, good to have you here. I'm very excited to listen to the poem you created to express the experience of the participants from Spain. But before we jump into that, could you tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, and why did you decide to join the Trento Poetry Slam group?
Hi, nice to be here with you. Well, my name is Elisa. I work as practicing lawyer in Trento, and I'm really into social issues and art in all its forms. So I started participating in the Trento Poetry Slam activities just actually a few months ago during the spring lockdown. I was feeling, lonely, isolated, and a little bit low and down, and I was really looking for a creative shake. So I approached them, the Trento Poetry Slam, because I really like what they do, what we do, and the use of poetry and poems to raise awareness and wake people up.
What was your creative process for making this piece that you're going to share with us today?
Well, I read the presentation of the project and listened to the interviews with the participants and the organizer. Then I imagined the territorial realities where each project worked and took places, and what relationship and interaction between the participants could be, what their common ideas, what their common design was.
I'm very much looking forward to listening to what you have prepared for us today, so the mic is all yours.
Verbena 2030. È estremamente importante fidarsi del terrore, il disgregarsi del margine fragile tra chi vive e chi muore, il perpetuo disfarsi nei sussulti di una danza ancestrale. La paura della sopravvivenza è il sentimento più reale. Riporre il cuore nell'equilibrio entropico primordiale, affidarsi come affogarsi nella fonte battesimale quando è sera e nessun dio ci libera dal male. Nelle calli di Cordoba non c'è nessuno che sia risorto. Una volta qui era tutto oceano. Forse è il momento di costruire un porto. È estremamente importante fidarsi degli istinti, dei legami stretti come ossa e di quelli portati dai venti che soffiano dalla Sierra Morena e sembrano cantare, delle nostre fabbriche rumorose e dei nostri negozi di quartiere, delle relazioni sincere, di te che mi prepari il pane, dei vecchi sospesi nei pomeriggi di sole, il vento che intreccia i fili dei miei maglioni stesi alla finestra, che sembra talvolta una minaccia e talvolta una proposta. Lo sento fischiare, anche a distanza comandata e sociale. Sembra chiedere attenzione e ripetere che l'empatia è una rivoluzione.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. This is Verbena 2030. I hope you enjoy it.
Moving on to our third guest from Trento Poetry Slam, Gloria, who moved all the way from Sicily to Trento. Gloria will later on share with us the piece she made about Sumamos Com or Alimentando Córdoba from Spain, a project created by Carlos, Alba and Mirko.
Hi everybody. Thank you for having me.
First, let's get to know each other a bit. Ciao Gloria, thank you for joining us. I wanted to ask you, how come you decided to move to Trento and join the Trento Poetry Slam group?
Well, my name is Gloria. I'm 20, I'm from Sicily, and I chose to study philology and literature at the University of Trento. I love poetry, so I was attracted to the slam poetry event, and after a while I started talking with the guys of the Trento Poetry Slam. Then they asked me to join them, and I was really happy to say yes.
And what was your creative process for making this piece that you're going to share with us today?
Well, I'm used to writing poems to understand better the world around me, and when I discovered the theme of the project, I was excited to dedicate myself to it. So I took my time, and after a while the poem was born.
I'm so excited to hear the poem you made, I'm sure as our listeners, which you named Terra, which stands for Earth in Italian.
L'acqua del mare, ai piedi delle rotaie, sfiora ai bagnanti le caviglie appena. Il lembo del limbo compie lunghi passi, prima d'essere arginato dal braccio di scogli. I bimbi nelle pozze giocano a guazzi. La balia li guarda dalla sedia. Affonda nella riva, coi piedi a bagnomaria. Poco più avanti, la costa si punteggia di gabbiani. Con la vita a tracimarmi dalle mani e le braccia stanche, giungo ai giorni nostri neanche, come a luoghi lontani. Il tramonto sulla landa come un tuorlo d'orizzonte. Ciò che sfuma in sera garbatamente saluta e s'allontana. Le serre in serie proteggono il sudore dei germogli e chissà se anche loro soffrono un amore non spontaneo, suggerito dal sole, come a una bimba ai figli.
Thank you for sharing it with us. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Our last guest is Alberto, who wrote a poem about Crisalidà, a project designed by Carmen Lucia, a participant from Spain who took part in the ALAPS project organized by Fundación Schul. Ciao Alberto, welcome on our show. I'm very excited to listen to the poem created to express the project of Carmen Lucia, but before we jump into that, maybe you could share with our listeners a bit about yourself, who you are and why did you decide to join the Trento Poetry Slam group?
Hi everyone, thank you for inviting me here today. So my name is Alberto and I was born in Rome and grew up there, and 5 years ago I moved to Trento, and some years ago, 3 for precision, I started to join the Trento Poetry Slam at the beginning as a competitor during the Poetry Slam competition. And then I started to present as an MC some events. And last year, when the association was born, I became the president of the Trento Poetry Slam Association.
What was your creative process for making this piece?
Okay, I read all the stories and I picked up the 2 of them that were more close to some of my text, and I tried to fuse the story inside the text that I already written, and the result is something that I'm really proud of, and I hope you enjoy.
I'm very much looking forward to listening to what you have prepared for us, so anytime you want.
Okay. I'm going to read Crisalidà, and I hope you enjoy it. Crisalidà. Lo spazio e il tempo di una pianta hanno il brutto vizio di non andare d'accordo. Lo spazio è sempre o troppo lontano o troppo vicino ed il tempo è sempre o troppo tardi o troppo presto. Se poi cerchi di combinarli è un casino, lontano, presto, vicino, tardi, è tutto un sottosopra. Come un gigantesco mazzo di carte logoro e con i semi sbagliati ti si mischiano le cose. Un pezzo di radice è stata qui da ieri con una punta di una foglia che sarà là per un blitz. La geografia allora la basiamo sulle ombre che appaiono e sulle porte che non si chiudono. Il tempo lo suddividiamo in canzoni, in orizzonti che cambiano e in quanto la sabbia esce fuori dalla conchiglia. E quando si riprova a mischiare tutto, si rimane con strade dimenticate perché cambiano colore, coi tramonti che appaiono e scompaiono, perché se fossimo da qualsiasi altra parte vedremmo tutto. Di nuovo il tempo e lo spazio. Allora esisteranno spazi e tempi che camminano sotto i portici, pieni di parole come perle che puoi dimenticare, tanto si faranno ritrovare. E i chilometri che se sei leggero non sono mai abbastanza per davvero, per trovare il coraggio di farsi largo con una battuta d'appoggio. I posti sotto i portici del tempo e dello spazio sono ovunque, e le porte e i portoni e i rampicanti, dritti, sopra, sotto e pure obliqui. Entri da una parte adesso ed esci da un'altra che è prima. Ma dalle finestre non si vede mai domani o d'oltre la chioma. Né dove né quando. È sempre nascosto dietro un fiore o una tenda. Non che mi offenda. Tanto chi lo vuole sapere cosa c'è dopo. Ma sai che palle a sapere il luogo, lo scopo. A me non interessa cosa c'è dietro l'angolo, quello deve fungere da pungolo. E neanche quando deve avvenire, preferisco di gran lunga poter dormire. Voglio solo ogni tanto un fermi tutti, un buco, una tana. Spazio, tempo, pensieri, rimorsi e rimpianti, una caverna che tutto allontana. Datemi delle radici, datemi un fiore. Qui, ora.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Really, thank you, and from me and on behalf of all the Trento Poetry Slam, really we enjoyed to be part of this project.
Okay, so let's make a quick recap of today's episode. We started off by chatting with Ana Rojas, who shared with us the idea behind the iLabs project. And if you're interested in learning more, make sure to go to the ilabs.eu website. Then we talked with Maria and Reme, who took part in the training program in Córdoba and created the Verbena 2030 project. It was wonderful to listen to their stories and how the project impacted their lives. On our second part of the show, we talked to Adriano from Trento Poetry Slam, who shared with us the background of their initiative and the beautiful Entre, Iguales piece. Next, we heard from Elisa, Gloria and Alberto, who joined Trento Poetry Slam on different occasions. It's always nice to see how life brings you to the most unexpected places. They shared with us the poems about Verbena 2030, Sumamos Com and Crisalidà. In our show notes, you can find a transcription of the episode, including the poems translated in English, in case you're still working on your Italian language skills. You can also find the entire episode translated into Spanish. On our next episode, you will get to find out more about me and our organization, Associazione Inco, as well as how the project was implemented here in Trento, Italy. We have many new stories and poems for you, so if you're looking for inspiration on how to be an active citizen in your community, make sure to listen to all our episodes and go onto the ilabs.eu project website. I'm your host, Patricia Dregan, and I'll see you all next time with another Poetry Podcast episode, a show sponsored by the European Commission, to which we officially thank for making all this possible. Back to you next time.